there, how's it going? So, we are waiting for Julia to come on, so I'm just gonna talk to you a little bit about Julia. She's awesome. And hey Rachel, hey Julia, I'm gonna add you. Oh, there you are. Awesome. Hello! Hello, everyone. Okay, so Julia's coming on, and I invited her on here because she is a rock star at talking about clean your beauty routine. And um, for me, this has a whole lot to do with just balancing your hormones and also thinking about what you're putting on your skin on a day-to-day basis, because that can actually affect your health. Hey, Julia.
Hi!
Hi, darling.
How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. I'm so excited to have you on here today.
Oh, it's so good to talk to you.
Yes. And yeah, I was just telling people a little bit about you, and that you're awesome just because you're talking about cleaning up your beauty routine. And
Hmm.
in the States, it's something, I mean, at least in California, when I was living there, like that's something that we talked about a lot in
Yeah,
terms of fertility and also just balancing your hormones, because we're putting so much stuff on our, skin or face, and
yeah.
even the things that we eat, like that has an effect um, on our hormones.
Yes.
So I just want to get everybody just like, to get to know you a little bit more. How did you get into
Hmm.
that?
Clean beauty.
Yes, clean beauty.
Okay, well, clean beauty I got into, and it's because I actually just wanted thicker hair. It was just really innocent like that. As a homeopath, we are aware of environmental toxins and the effect on our bodies. And so that's like organic food, pesticides, household cleaners. And in the back of my mind, on the periphery, I always knew about our personal care products. But until you actually see it in your case and in the case for patients, it's very easy to forget. So I remembered Googling that I wanted a lot thicker hair, and this website that I was on was giving up all this research about the ingredients in shampoos and conditioners. And I love research. I mean, I love PubMed. I love looking up clinical trials and everything. And as soon as I saw the research, it made me investigate it more. And so the more I investigated that night, I decided that I got up the next morning and I was going to work and just put on a little bit of makeup. I mean, I was a kind of free lipstick with a magazine type of woman before. And I was going to put the lipstick on. I can't actually put this on my skin. So it shocked me enough, the research, but that's not really what kept me through it. What kept me through it is when I decided for myself, I said, listen, I can't talk the talk if I don't walk the walk. So I decided to change all my products. I swapped everything over. And 3, 4 months later, I had a big impact on my endocrine system, my hormones. And that's when you really see it. You're like, oh my God, there's more to this than is being talked about. So that's how I really got into it. And I think I became known for it. Friends asked me, and then patients started to ask me to work with them, and they have noticed a similar pattern of change. And that's when I really okay, I love a soapbox. So I decided this is going to be my soapbox and tell everybody about this.
Yeah, so I love that you're sharing this with me, and our audience too today, just because, you know, sometimes we don't realize like what's actually affecting us until we see it
Yes.
for ourselves. And what are some of the symptoms that you were seeing for yourself when you were just using, you know, your regular stuff versus,
Yeah.
up your routine?
Well, that's actually, I was asked that last week. It's very hard for people to know exactly what the symptoms are. I'll tell you my symptoms, but first of all, it's because if you're looking at, I know when I was a kid and kids now, it's similar ingredients in children's products as in adult products. So our systems from birth have these ingredients actually before birth in our bodies. So it's very hard to know exactly what are the symptoms until you stop them. So what connected me to what I can connect to my personal care products, there's two main symptoms. One, I never had a regular period, ever. So, but it was fine with me. I never had any symptoms. I never had any PMT. So I didn't really think anything of it. And I think a lot of women experience that. They're like, oh, it's just irregular, can be 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 months. And so that was one symptom that was the first symptom that changed when I changed my products. And the other symptom I have is I had fibrous breast syndrome. So painful breast, cysts in my breast. Again, nothing huge. My gynecologist was just surveying me and saying, listen, we can try creams, or there's nothing serious going on, just be aware of it. But I was in so much pain. They were really painful. I don't know if anyone's ever had painful breasts, how painful it is, like walking upstairs or anything. And they completely went. All of it completely went. And that is within 3 or 4 months of changing all my products 100%. And that is similar to what I'm seeing in my patients. So we're starting to see similar symptoms changing when
That's
changing
awesome.
products. Yeah.
That's
It's
really
quite shocking when you see it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can totally imagine just because, um, when we talk about just re-regulating the cycle or even
Mm.
re-regulating your digestion, like depending on
Yes.
what's going on,
Yeah.
um, you start to see differences, like, and that contrast of like,
Mm.
okay, this was how it used to be, and
Yeah.
this is how it is now. And,
It's like
especially,
chalk and cheese. It can be
oh
so
yeah,
different.
totally. And when you have that, then it's like, okay, like I need to stay away from this stuff that
Yes.
I was doing before all the time. And so, can you talk a little bit about what you talk about in your Clean Your Beauty routine, like on your own IGTV? Like,
Okay.
people have an idea of what
What I
get
talk about.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, it's actually good to say that because it seems like such a simple topic, but when I start talking about it, it's when people start to realize, like, oh my god, this is huge to change these products. And that's why when I do the Clean Your Beauty Routine event, it's a whole day event, because when I get patients to start thinking about this, they start to see all the products adding up. And that is really the issue with clean beauty, because obviously there'll be people saying, actually the doses are so small, there's nothing in this, it's nothing to worry about. When you understand how the body's detoxification pathway works and how the research and the safety levels of ingredients are calculated, you see the difference, you see the problem. So basically the safety levels, and it's always different around the world, in the EU are different to the US, to Canada, it's different around the world. It's for one ingredient. However, that one ingredient can be in every product that you're putting on your skin in one day. So that's how it can accumulate. Now, the other thing you're looking for in ingredients is you're looking for something called a half-life. Now, I don't want to sound like a chemistry lesson, but it's good to know is a half-life is how long it takes your body to process half the quantity in your blood out of the body. Now, some half-life of ingredients can be 4 hours, some can be 48 hours. So if only half is getting after 4 hours and you're repeating a product multiple times in a day, you can start to see how that builds up. And equally, our detoxification pathways in our body, when that's out of balance, we can actually reabsorb toxins. And that's how they build up. And that is where the problem is in terms of fertility, is this build up, is this overload. I talk about the body burden and how that impacts every system in our body, really, not just fertility, but it's quite big in fertility as well. It's a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all about clean beauty. Now, the ingredients in what is clean, what is green, what is natural, that is the huge debate. Because I have my 12 ingredients that I talk about. But some brands, some other practitioners, like, no, they have a different set of ingredients. So it's all about reducing the overload. So I always say that one ingredient is not the problem. It's the combination of the ingredients, and the constant exposure to these ingredients is the issue. Equally mixed with a diet that is deficient in nutrients to feed the detoxification pathway. So when you have this kind of multiple etiologies, that's when we have an issue for chronic disorders. So I look at fertility issues and infertility as a chronic disorder, just like autoimmune, and that's when you're starting to look at multiple factors of what's contributing to the case.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking a little bit about the detoxification pathway. Like, I like
Yes.
to look at the body as a filter overall, just because
Yes.
of the, and it shows up on our face as well.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not detoxifying
Yeah.
correctly. And as you're talking about the detoxification process, like, can you tell our listeners, like, what exactly you mean by that?
Okay, so we have the body detoxifies on many different levels. So obviously everyone knows the liver. What's also implied is the kidneys, it's the digestive system, it's our lungs, it's our skin. So how basically the main thing is when you have any toxins that goes into the body, it goes into the liver. There's two phases. The liver then denatures, is that the word? A toxin, so it makes it harmless to then be passed out either through our kidneys or through our intestines. So that whole system has to be fed. B vitamins, enzymes, amino acids are all needed for that liver process to work. And that is when we have deficiencies, and lifestyle choices can cause deficiencies. That's one of the reasons why I talk to people about their products, is because the overwhelming need to detoxify these ingredients is robbing nutrients for this process that could be going elsewhere to your ovaries, for example, to other hormones, to other systems. And that's how these products can contribute to infertility. So by making sure that your liver is nourished, your liver is, and I always say that, I always prefer to use the word nourish your liver rather than detox your liver, because your liver is there to detox. So you just want to make sure it's being able to do its job happily. And then you want to make sure that your intestines, that you're going, I always talk about this, my patients know, you go to the toilet every day and it's efficient and it works. And that the enzymes in your intestines are not then, as I said, contributing to the reabsorption of hormones and toxins into the system. The skin as well, by letting us sweat. So I talk often a lot about deodorant and antiperspirant. We're supposed to sweat and use this to our advantage by sweating out these toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all that whole area is what I'm looking at.
That's awesome. I love that you're describing that. So one of our listeners, Matty, is asking, what are the 12
Brilliant.
ingredients? And um, I guess, are there good or bad ones? She's coming from Portugal. So,
Okay, so with
yeah.
the 12 ingredients, I always remember 11. The 12th one I always leave my notes, but all of these you can find on my website. So on juliaedgley.com, I actually have a page where it lists the ingredients that I recommend that you avoid. I don't want to say that there are like there's good and bad, positive, negative. You just want to avoid your daily exposure to these ingredients. Now, these ingredients on my website can change with more research that's coming out. So I'm open. I'm open to change. I'm open to say, okay, so that one's not that bad, and I can swap them around. But just to give you a quick list of the 12 ingredients: so sulfates, silicones, parabens, phthalates, phenoxyethanol, propylene glycol, PEG. This sounds like a chemistry lesson, so that's why it kind of overwhelms people. PEGs, lake dyes, aluminium, formaldehyde, perfume. What's the other ones? Was that 12?
I
I've
didn't
been
keep,
doing this for so long, I should know.
I didn't keep track. But we can definitely let everybody know that they can
Yeah,
find it on your website, juliaedgley.com.
yeah.
And,
Now those 12 ingredients were chosen because they're not the worst. Silicone, that's the one I forgot. They're not the worst, although formaldehyde is pretty bad, and I really don't like phthalates. That's a whole other subject to talk about. But they're the ones that are the most prevalent. I try to make this easy for patients, because if I'm telling somebody who has never even thought of changing their products, going, you need to change your products, it's going to overwhelm them. So I keep it to 12 core ingredients, and it's easy to spot these ingredients on a label. Because when people ask me what's the bad ones, there are other ones that I could go into specifically for fake tans, nail varnishes, hair dyes, but these are the core ones that we're exposed to every day to keep it simple for you. And the easiest to pronounce, believe it or not.
yes.
Yeah.
And so, while you're talking about this, like with the 12 ingredients, like, is there, like, as you're swapping out or suggesting people to swap out their
Yeah.
makeup products, how do you go about that process with them?
Okay, so it's about open dialogue with the patient. So I want to see where they're at, if they're completely open to it, or they'll do it bit by bit. Also, it can be budget, because when you realize the amount of products we use, because a lot, like you say, makeup, a lot of people think it's just makeup, but it's shampoo, conditioner, hair mask, hair dyes, hand soap, toothpaste, mouthwash, shower gels, body lotions, sanitary products. What else are we thinking of? Like, you can start to see how that builds up. So I don't want to overwhelm the patient. I see where they're at. I see what's their budget. And then I start to see what they want to swap first. What's the products that they would use every day? And that's where I start. So easy things like toothpaste, shower gel, Shampoo, hair care is a bit trickier. That's a bit trickier. So, but we start to swap things every day, and then I see what makeup, what products they're using, and I find the equivalent in a product that would come to my standards. Because I need to recommend products to patients that they'll use. So it's no point if a patient, it's called a non-compliance if they won't follow through with it. So it's my job to find a product that the patient will like, will use, they're happy with it, and then from my analysis of their case, I know those ingredients are gone. So I've tested a lot of makeup, even though I was never a makeup person before.
Well, it sounds like fun, like just
It
testing out
is.
different, colors and brands of makeup. And just to catch this question before it goes away,
Okay.
Marta asks, do you use apps like Yucca to help identify those ingredients?
Oh, I don't know that app.
I don't know that app either.
I must go look into it.
Yeah.
Yucca. I'll tell you what, the issue with these the apps and the websites, I know the websites that people are talking about, is that how do I say it? It's not as black and white. So for example, these apps usually give ratings to ingredients. So you can look up a product, or you can look up an ingredient, and it gives a rating, and you can say if it's good or bad. But that rating can be dependent on skin irritation. It's not just the toxin level of the ingredient. For example, essential oils and some of these apps can rate actually quite high because they irritate the skin. But for homeopath is looking at fertility, I wouldn't be worried about that. So these apps, you have to understand how they work, and you can actually use them as a point of reference, but not as your final decision. And the other thing about these apps, there's Skin Deep is an app that is a website that everybody uses. I love it from a research point of view because it has all the research. So you can go into the PubMed, you can go into the journals, and you can see the research yourself. The only issue with that research, and this is the issue with the topic, is that most of them are animal studies, and the animals would have been given a very high level of the ingredient over a very short amount of time, which is not, it doesn't reflect how we would use the products. So that's when you get the really shocking, the really shocking research results from these ingredients. So you need to find the happy balance between these, of what exactly these ingredients are doing to us on an everyday process. And the issue, like I said earlier on, is the mixture of them. That has never been studied. The combination of how we would be exposed to the ingredients every day long term has never been studied. So that's where we're lacking in information. But those apps and those websites are great as a point of reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And Shirley talks about EWG, the Environment Working Group. That one is a really great resource.
Yes, that's the one that has all the links to all the websites, to all the journals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And there was a question before it actually disappeared, but Alex asking about deodorant.
Yes.
You want to talk about deodorant?
I always get deodorant and hair care. They're the two that I always get. So deodorant, there's this process to change your deodorant. A lot of people are worried about it not working. And what you have to realize, actually this is with the lockdown confinement, it's a perfect time, is your body needs time to adapt. I think that's one thing people don't realize. Our skin, our hair, our bodies will need time to adapt to eliminating these ingredients. And so your body it can seem that a natural deodorant doesn't work, but it can take 2 to 3 weeks for it to kick in. And that's especially if you're using something like an antiperspirant, which is the controversial product, because it stops your body with the natural function, the sweating, as I mentioned earlier on. And if you stop your body sweating, if you stop your body doing anything and then you let it go free, probably a bit like me with my food, once we're free, I'm just going to go mad. And that's what the body does. It starts to over sweat. And that's when you need to have 2 to 3 weeks to let it work. But in terms of natural deodorants, I mean, I did an Instagram live a few weeks ago on how to make your own, because it's a great, very simple recipe mixture with arrowroot, coconut oil, bicarb, and sandalwood essential oil if you can handle it. It's highly effective. Again, it's not an antiperspirant. So if you don't like the idea of sweating, that's another area that we would need to discuss. But it's very easy to swap deodorant.
Yeah, it is. And like, I like that you're talking about deodorant right now, because there are some things, I mean, you're naturally supposed to perspire anyway. And, I think there was something about, there was one case about not washing your hair with shampoo for like a month or so. And then there was something about not even taking a shower, and just to I think that was something, and then it just like rebalances everything, so you don't
Well, I
even
think that
need.
not washing your hair was probably for me because one, it is actually very good for your hair. Like I said earlier on, I have to choose products, recommend products to patients that work. And so I can't just say use a natural shampoo if it's not going to clean your hair. So I had to go through a process of explaining to patients, okay, when you stop using sulfates and silicones, your hair is going to go a bit discombobulated. Okay, and that's like you said, it's a month, 6 weeks, it can be 2 months, and then it rebalances. So I have a trick where I tell people don't wash your hair for at least 2 weeks. And what that does, so that will rebalance the oil production, so the natural shampoos are allowed to work. And actually, but the other thing is, I just hate washing my hair. So I wash my hair for you today,
Oh, thank you.
but otherwise, I just don't wash it. It's gone so long as well, so it's so heavy when it's wet. But
Oh,
that's the thing. It's hair care. It's trying to get that balance. Deodorant as well. I'm not sure about not washing the body. I can tell people just rinse. You can go into a shower and just rinse with water, and that is just as clean.
yeah. So I know for some of you, this might be just like a little extreme, like with some of the
Yes.
things we're talking about. And there was a question about what is the natural way to brush your teeth?
Okay. So the natural way this is going to sound okay, a bit out there, but I'm going to come back to your point. Dental care is so much more than just toothpaste. Okay, so when you understand like how to really look after your teeth, you look at toothpaste and it's only like the tip of the iceberg. And actually, a really great way of looking after your teeth is oil pulling. So no matter what toothpaste you use, obviously we're trying to avoid the 12 ingredients for health reasons, but oil pulling is a very effective way of maintaining dental health. There's been research to show it reduces the bacteria in the mouth that leads to decay, build-up. And I don't know if your readers would know, if your listeners would know about oil pulling. So basically, oil pulling it's from Ayurveda. It would be using sesame oil or coconut oil, and you swoosh it around your mouth gently because you don't want to hurt your jaw for 20 minutes. And by the enzymes in your mouth digesting the oil, it will kill off the bacteria and also maintain healthy enamel. And like I said, there is research to prove this. So that would actually be the most, if you really want to look after your teeth, the best way. And initially, you would do it for 10 days, every single day, and then you would do it once or twice a week. And then you would look for a toothpaste that is very natural, doesn't have fluoride, doesn't have any, because you'd be surprised, the sulfates, I think everyone knows sulfates. It's the detergent to clean your hair, your body, your car, your kitchen. It's the same thing. That is in toothpaste. And then there will be perfume and fragrance, flavorings in toothpaste. There'd be fluoride in toothpaste. There would be parabens in toothpaste. So you're just looking for a toothpaste that removes that. Toothpaste is actually one of the easiest things to swap. And I think most health stores would have a great alternative for you. Again, it's about texture, about taste. There's some that taste like clay, and my teenage patients wouldn't necessarily like it. But what I can do is I can actually put on my stories after this a few products that I would recommend for so deodorant and toothpaste to get it. If you were looking for a specific product, I can do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, speaking about toothpaste, like one thing that I did for myself,
Mm-hmm.
was talking about coconut oil. You can
Yeah.
use coconut oil with bicarbonate, baking soda,
Yes.
and you can add a little bit of peppermint
Oh, that's lovely.
essential oil to it, and then
Yeah.
that acts as a really nice natural at-home toothpaste.
Another ingredient you can add to that as well is xylitol. Have you heard of this one?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But
It's from the sap of the birch tree, and it's been used to replace sugar for people who need to follow a diabetic food plan. And you can use it. Not everybody reacts well to it, but you can use it, and it's been shown to actually help your teeth. So one of the ingredients you can add if you have a teenager and they want the bicarb is a bit too, what's the word I'm looking for, pungent. You can add xylitol into it as well.
okay. Wow, I love that. I love that tip so much. And I feel like
I can't see any of the questions.
it's
My
okay.
eyesight's not the
I'm reading
best.
them as you go. So
Brilliant.
Matty said, for me, it's amazing. I did the hair thing by myself. I didn't know it's a technique. Amazing. Don't
Oh,
wash your hair
fantastic!
first.
That's great. It's so liberating. I
Yeah.
think everyone thinks I'm just doing this so everybody will look the same, so I don't stand out that my hair is just not washed. But especially in the south of France with the heat in the summer, you can easily, you can rinse your hair all you want. You can go in the shower and rinse it all you want, but just don't put shampoo in it. And in the summer here, it's the easiest time to do it. 'Cause everyone's coming from the beach. We all look the same.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. And it's like, Yeah, and plus, like sometimes when you're washing your hair with the detergents, like
Mm-hmm.
shampoo, it just strips the oil of its hair.
Oh,
Of
that's the problem. And that's why manufacturers, they bring in silicone. So silicone, I didn't think I said it on my 12, but that's on my 12. It's not the worst ingredient because the molecule side, you don't really absorb it. But for your skin and for your hair, it's inert. It does nothing. So there's a lot better things you could use than silicone. But the reason they brought that in is because the stronger detergents in the 70s that were introduced only in the 70s was damaging people's hair. The hair was dry, it was brittle. A lot of actually, we're talking about fertility. A lot of mums who've had a baby come to me and they're like, my hair fell out and it's just not coming back as well. Rather than worrying them and looking at hormones, like just change your products and that will help your hair grow back thicker. And so that's what silicone was then introduced to hide the fact that the sulfates were damaging your scalp and your hair.
Oh, how interesting. I didn't know
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
Sabrina asks how to condition hair.
Okay, so there's a difference between conditioning and hydrating your hair. And basically your hair is a mixture of proteins, fats and water. And to have that soft, shiny, silky hair, you actually need water, but you need the oil to lock the water in. So the best thing you can do is a mixture. Now there's different products up there. There's a product called Rahua or Zrawa. I can never pronounce these products, it's awful. Has a great treatment. A brand called Tabitha James Cram, which I love their 4-in-1 conditioner. It's the only natural conditioner I have found closest to standard conditioners that don't weigh the hair down with oils. So you can use something like that, or you can actually make up a combination to hydrate your hair, which is honey and aloe vera gel. So you just buy an aloe vera leaf, you scoop it out and you mix it with honey, put it all the way through your ends, and then you wash your hair after an hour as normal. And that really rehydrates your hair.
Oh, yeah. That
And it's
sounds,
really natural, very easy to make.
yeah, because you got the humectant from the honey,
Exactly.
and that's bringing in more moisture to,
Exactly. And the nutrients from the aloe vera.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
work so well together.
Uh,
Don't. The only thing I would say is don't put honey in your hair and then go in the sun because it does lighten your hair. So make sure you stay in the dark.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
There are
that.
tips that, yeah, I learned that the hard way. There's a few things I've learned the hard way, like don't put bananas in your hair
Okay.
unless like you just want chunks coming out with your hair. The
Oh,
things
no.
I've learned, yeah, I've learned things the hard way.
Okay. Well, that's good. And that's a good tip.
Mm.
Shirley says organic egg, avocado, olive oil, and mayonnaise make a great natural
The
conditioner.
mayonnaise I've tried, the rest I've tried. I actually can wash my hair with egg. Eggs actually are great for washing your hair, and avocado oil great. Mayonnaise I found it hard to wash out, so I think that depends on your hair type. But I have tried mayonnaise as well.
Yeah.
But the egg, it's fantastic to wash your hair with egg. Very
Yeah,
simple, and to travel it's so much easier as well.
it is.
Yeah,
Egg's great for everything. You can use it as a face
brilliant.
mask as well, and even
Yes,
for the under eyes if you use the skin.
tighten.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
like lift everything. You can use that skin, like the membrane, that's
Mm.
the eggshell, and peel it off,
I didn't
and
know
then you just.
that.
I'm giving you one of my tips.
Oh my god,
You
I'm
can put
gonna try
it
that.
underneath, and it like helps the lymphatic, like especially if you have puffy eyes. For anybody
Yeah,
who has puffy,
that would be me.
like it's perfect. You just leave it on, and you feel it just like um,
Brilliant.
everything up, and it
And
acts
then you
like
just peel it
a,
off.
yeah, as like a, and then
Okay.
you lift it off, and then you can wash your face and get
I'm
going.
trying that tonight. Absolutely.
Yeah, try it. Let me know how it goes.
Apparently, as well, egg white you can mix with charcoal, and you can make one of those, those strips, the pore strips, because it just sucks everything
Oh,
out. Apparently, I haven't tried it. I'm
huh.
not that invested.
I
But
see.
yeah, there's loads of things you can do with eggs.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So, Sabrina, how to use eggs. Oh, we were just, I don't know if you hopped off for a second, but we just talked about like different ways to condition your hair and also using it as like a face mask.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are different ways to use the eggs. Like you can either use just the egg white as a face mask or
Yeah.
the membrane as a under eye.
Or the
Um,
whole egg that's the whole egg just to wash your hair. You'd only put it on your scalp though. Don't put it on the rest of your hair because it's full of protein, which is good for people who want to repair their hair. But you only want to put it on your scalp. And you see it when you mix cold water with it. Just make sure because it does scramble in your hair. cold water, you'll actually see the bubbles where it's starting to make its own detergent with the natural oils in your hair.
Oh,
Very
neat.
handy. Yeah, yeah, it's really, really, you only need a tiny bit. I must do a video actually to show people how to do it because I don't think people believe me.
Yeah, you should do
I
it.
will, I'll try.
So, so yeah, we were talking to, I was talking to Stephanie Johnson from Riviera Wellness yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
talking about the hormone receptors
Yeah.
and disruptors and makeup. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Just because we're talking a little bit about hormones as well.
Okay, so basically, there is the thing about endocrine disruptors. It's not just in the products we put in our skin. It's we're exposed to it everywhere. Do you know what I mean? In cleaning products, in environmental toxins. So it's the overload of endocrine disruptors. Now, I think the most well-known endocrine disruptor would be parabens. And actually, in the EU, we have something called the Cosmetics Directive, and that's where we're a bit more protected in the EU with our products we put on our skin. It's not brilliant, but there's always investigation. Actually, parabens are constantly investigating the safety of these ingredients. So they would be the ones that would mimic our hormones. And basically, the thing with endocrine disruptors is you only need a tiny amount to mimic our hormones. Because if our body, when I say by mimicking it, if it's similar to, as Stephanie was saying, our estrogens, and then they bind to the receptor sites on the cell, our body is producing estrogen, but not necessarily getting the feedback that it's expecting, so then produces more and more and more. And that's when we're getting the disruptors. And the thing with our endocrine system is it's not just one hormone, they all affect each other. So estrogen, progesterone, and even insulin, it affects the digestive issues. So that's why somebody who has a hormone imbalance such as polycystic ovary syndrome will have an insulin issue as well, because they're all impacting each other. And that's why one simple thing as changing your foundation can have a big impact on every system in your body.
Yeah, exactly. And your background is as a homeopathy practitioner,
Yeah.
and so you talk about dosing and
Yes.
everything. So like
Yeah.
if you can imagine like how much you're putting onto your skin,
Yes.
that's
And
something.
it doesn't have to be in terms of fertility. When I talk to my fertility patients, is one thing I am very mindful of is that when I'm talking about the products I put on the skin, I don't want to sound like I'm blaming anybody. Because some
Right.
patients are like, oh my God, I didn't know that I was doing this. I'm like, nobody does. So it's not a blame thing. I'm just giving another way to improve your health. But not just improving your health to fall pregnant. I'm also encouraging them that that's not the end point. It's also improving your health so when you are pregnant, when the baby arrives, so your body can bounce back and be able to heal itself. Because it takes a lot of energy to grow another human being. So all of that, I'm looking at all of that with patients. And also at one stage is when these levels, and they can be so small, as what's constantly repeated in the media, is like, well, the levels are so small, it don't matter. At one stage when you're pregnant, the baby is the size of a lentil. So the dosage does matter then. When you think of it like an embryo is tiny. And there is research to show that like these ingredients have been found not just in the blood, in our urine, but they've also been found in placentas and the amniotic fluid of pregnant women. So it's knowing that it's going into the babies. So that's why the dosage is huge. And everybody is different. There's a great book out, I can't remember the author, but I think it's called Dirty Genes. And it's all about what we're born with and we all have an individual capacity, individual ability to detox, and everybody's different. So one dosage for one person is fine, for another person could be overload the whole body. So the levels in these, it depends on the patient. But there are some pathologies that I would highly recommend to look at your ingredients, such as autoimmune, fertility, endocrine issues. There would be the pathologies, and like this is going to be part of your treatment plan.
Mhm. And Sabrina asks, is there a natural way to remove heavy metals?
There's loads of different actually methods to remove heavy metals. You can use medical chelation, which it flushes the body very, very quickly. You can use natural products such as chlorella, wild garlic, coriander. This would be a longer term process. In terms of fertility, there's an area of this where if you're doing the longer process, such as the chlorella, it can take up 6 to 9 months to do the whole treatment, because you're preparing the body, you're preparing the detoxification pathways to make sure that they can successfully remove these from the body. So you wouldn't necessarily want to be actively trying for a baby when you're going through this, especially when you mobilize heavy metals in the body. Different types of different products are used for different heavy metals as well. I need to add that in. But when you're mobilizing, means that it's like dislodging the heavy metals from the cells, and that's going around your blood as well. You'd want to take a little bit of time off from actually trying for a baby. But the natural products would be, like I said, there's steps. I like to do things in stages. So you prepare the detoxification pathways, make sure that the digestion is working well, and the liver is supported, the kidneys are supported. You then start to bind something to bind the heavy metals in the intestines, and then a few months later you would do the mobilizers to start to mobilizing from the cells around the body. Because some of these heavy metals, as well as ingredients in, I won't say environmental toxins because it's not just the products we use, it can be household products as well. They can be lipophilic, which means they're attracted to fat cells. So actually fat cells in the body can hold on to fat in the body can hold on to the toxins. So when you are detoxification, it can happen as well when I have patients who come to see me and they're feeling really, really run down after losing a significant amount of weight. I say your body was releasing toxins at the same time. So that's the same time as well. You want to slowly support this process like heavy metals out of the body.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like what in Chinese medicine, as we talk about it, sometimes when you're trying to detoxify or the like when you're trying to remove something from the body,
yeah,
you have to support it.
exactly.
So this is essentially what Julia is talking about, like with the detox
Exactly.
process. It's not just about detoxifying or just getting rid of something. You have to like back it up.
Yeah, like the pearl liver, when you think it's like I always read these in magazines, detox your liver, detox your liver. I'm like, the pearl liver is constantly detox, nourish it so it can do its job well, as well as the kidneys.
Yeah. So as you're talking about nourishing your liver, what are some, like, are there some good teas or foods that nourish the liver?
Foods that nourish the liver. Oh, that's a great question. That's a huge question. I think foods that nourish the liver, for me, it's important to make sure you balance, what's the word? Balance blood sugar levels. So eat regularly. There's one thing that I see a lot common in the Western world in women is that we actually don't eat enough. And that sounds really weird because everyone's talking about fast food and overeating. It's if you eat the right amount of food, you need to eat enough food. And that will then, you'll get the correct nutrients to support your liver. I'm a big believer in nutrients like in bone broth. I don't know if you drink bone broth because I don't know if you have a few people who are vegan following you. But bone broth is amazing to really nourish the liver. It's full of all the amino acids that help the liver do its job and to repair its cells. The other things I love is things like I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm really bad at pronouncing these things. I think it's called lapatuti or pau dako. It's called pau dako. Have you heard of this?
How
Pau dako. I'll share it on my stories.
write it out. If you write it out,
I'll write it out.
Yeah, because I'm not.
That one is fantastic to really support, and you can get it in a tea to support your liver. The other thing as well is to what else? Yeah, balance blood sugar levels. Don't have caffeine. The other things. Don't drink a lot of alcohol. Alcohol is full of preservatives and toxins and additives and pesticides. So if you're drinking or when you're drinking, make sure it is a good brand. It's pure, but don't drink alcohol because it just produces secondary toxins. I do have something that's I don't know if I should say it, it's very controversial. I do think women's bodies, we shouldn't be drinking like the Western world drinks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, well, I believe that too, just because Chinese, we talk about women just being more yin than men, and we're just like out of blood. Like everything about us is more like, if you imagine us as being the earth, we're the ocean.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We can't really be dried up. So like if you're always drinking caffeine, beverages with caffeine in it or alcohol all the time, like you're really drying your reserves up.
Exactly.
Matty says APO. Am I saying that right? AIPO for the liver is.
Oh, I don't know that one either. I must look back. Let me write this down.
I don't know what that is.
So, a lot with liver as well is because my husband's an osteopath, and it's they talk about form and function. So basically, posture, deep breathing. This is hugely important for your digestive system, for your liver, for your gallbladder. I like to talk more about the gallbladder rather than the liver because I always look at, because I always assume, unless we can see liver enzymes in tests, that the liver is doing its job. We just need to help it like clean itself, which is the gallbladder. And how we breathe, how we eat is really important. So sitting down, deep breathing, taking a pause in between big meals to really belly breathe, to let the digestive enzymes, to let the digestive juices flow. That has a huge impact on gallbladder and liver and intestines. I think that's in Chinese medicine as well.
Yes,
Is it?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, exactly. We have that in celery. Celery, it's apo.
Oh,
Celery.
right. Yes. Yes. I've heard of the whole celery juice thing. I just can't stand the taste of it. Celery juice is great. Celery juice, though, I think, and actually you'd know more than I would, is when I have women who are tired and I can see on every level they're tired, physically, emotionally, mentally, certain foods I would say don't eat for the moment, such as melons, celery, those negative calorie, what do you call it, foods, because actually it takes more energy of the body to digest them. Like splenic, I think that's what you would say in traditional Chinese medicine. So some of these foods I'd say great, but if you're tired, pause from them a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't have really nourishing food. And what's the, my acupuncturist years ago told me this, it was a rice congee to eat.
Rice congee. It's just rice and water, or you
Yeah.
can add some, broth to it.
It's
Um,
so good for women. It's so good.
it's really nourishing and it's very
Yeah,
warming. Um,
exactly.
yeah. So while you were talking about the celery and also the melons,
Mm-hmm.
in Chinese medicine, like we look at temperature, we look at the energetics of food
Yes.
and spices. And so melons and celery, those are considered more to be
Okay.
cold vegetables, fruits,
Yeah.
and so that can actually make it harder to digest
Yeah.
because your body, if your body isn't digesting things
Mm-hmm.
efficient, it's considered cold because
Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, so it's so we need to like stoke, we call it stoking the
Yeah.
digestive fire.
It's
Um,
very similar to Ayurveda as well. It's all about getting that digestive fire to work.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, so a lot of this, in terms of like supporting your liver, like if your
Yeah.
digestion, if your
Yeah.
stomach, spleen are doing their job,
Yeah.
then that's going to make your liver very happy.
Exactly. Another thing as well, I don't know if you have it in traditional Chinese medicine is, and we do it instinctively in Ireland, is you have hot drinks with your food. You don't have cold drinks.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think in Europe, most people drink like room temperature to warm drinks anyway. They
Mm.
don't really, at, that's what I've noticed at
Oh
least.
yeah, in the US, because you get ice drinks with everything.
Yeah, almost
Yeah.
every like it's ice drinks in the US, and so that's
Yeah.
something that we see as like as a practitioner, we see a lot of coldness
Ah.
in digestion, and that can cause a lot
Yeah.
of puffiness and like bloating and gas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but here in Europe, I don't really see that as much.
Okay.
So it's like,
I think everything, no matter what modality I talk to people, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, so I'll just turn this message off, homeopathy, Ayurveda, it's all about starting with the digestion. It's
mm,
always, even with fertility, it's you looking at making sure the digestive system, the whole system is working correctly. And that you always focus on make sure I have patients and they're coming in for one pathology and something random. And I'm just constantly talking about the digestion, like, why are you talking about this? And then I have to explain how holistically it all works together. And I always explain the knock on effects. And
mm,
then they're like, okay, I see where you're coming from. And then they'll let me talk about the digestion the rest of the time.
yeah. I love how in depth this is today, like in terms of, talking about the whole well-being,
Mm.
you know,
And the
every,
different experiences is great as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
versus just, like, yes, you talk about swapping out products, but we
yeah,
also have to think about, okay, how are your organs functioning
yeah.
as well? So,
Because that's the thing when people say you'll hear headlines in the media saying your cosmetics don't cause X, Y, or Z, and that's absolutely true. But there's a massive difference between a cause and a contributing factor. huge difference. And equally, they will also say that correlation does not equal causation, meaning that just because these xenobiotics, such as the ingredients in our cosmetics, are present in our bodies, doesn't mean they do anything. And that's actually correct as well. However, when there is a plausible mechanism of action, such that meaning that when you can actually see how the detoxification pathway works, how these ingredients could impact that, that's when there's a difference. And with what we're putting on our skin, there's absolutely a plausible explanation to why this is contributing things such as infertility.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there anything that you want to share with our audience in terms of the first step that they can take?
Okay. Don't wash your hair. No, that's the thing. Oh no, actually that is quite important, because if we're on this confinement and you want to change your hair care, it's the reason why I set up the whole masterclass day, is because it takes a while for me to coach people through it. Simply just don't wash your hair for the next 2 weeks. Rinse it every day. You can stay in contact with me. And then I say at the end of 2 weeks, you choose your weapon of choice, which means your natural shampoos. I'll share a few of them on my stories. So that's one area that you've swapped. Thinking about swapping your deodorant. Make a list of what you need to swap. Make a list of what you use every day and start with that list. On my website, I actually have something called a brand directory, and it's shops, it's local stores, online stores, brands that come up to, I always say, come to my standards for my patients. And so you know where to start. But if you have a list of what you need to swap, it makes it more manageable rather than thinking, oh my God, everything. And like I said, this the one ingredient is not the problem. So a product every so often is not the issue. Like, I mean, I was supposed to go this year to New York, to East Coast America, for my pop-ups to produce them there. And absolutely, and it's the funny thing is I'm a homeopath. I love natural living. I love everything natural. I love meditation. I also adore Cardi B. So when I was in New York, I'm absolutely getting those massive nails. but but once in your life is not going to be the end of the world. They're going to be so big, I'm going to have to declare them a customs. I can't wait.
Wait to see that when you get
Yeah.
to work. That's awesome. So, thank you so much for
Thanks so
sharing.
much for having me. It's great talking to you.
You as well. Take care now, Julia.
Same to you. Have a great day. Take
You
care,
too.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.